Hello out there, everyone. This is GameWisp podcast episode 11-ish? 11-ish. Maybe it's 11.5. Maybe it's 11.1. Maybe it's 10.5. Depends on how you round.
That's right.
Either way, we're coming at you from a new location, as we promise to do every time we feel like it. So, yeah. Also,
which is also the frequency of which we
podcast.
Right. There's no such thing as weekly.
Every time we feel like it.
That's right.
The GameWisp
Get around
feel like
to
it podcast. Okay, so we've got a little different format today. You'll notice there's an extra person. His name is Andrew. He works for us, I guess.
Or something.
Right.
Been behind the camera for all the rest of these.
And so Michael and I complained just all the time because we didn't want to do stuff or learn things. And so we just want to shoot off at the mouth, gut check opinions about things that are happening.
Right.
So it's Andrew's job to keep us on point and supply us with facts. So we don't have to.
Right.
Essentially, he sort of just wrangles our genius.
And we'll believe anything he says because we don't know any better.
Right.
So
he's got the.
So I mean, we could go off on all sorts of tangents.
Whatever, man.
You know,
It's really
I feel like it.
That's right.
Okay.
What do you got for us today?
What we talking about?
All right, so once again, we do this whenever we want to. So this is the first podcast that we've had since PAX East. So I guess a good place to start is PAX East. How was it different from other conferences we went to? You know, what were the differences for us in terms of the way that we operated, and how did that work out for us?
It was good. It was good. Yeah, I'm reflecting on the last PAX I went to, which is PAX East 13?
2013, yeah.
I always want to say 12, but that's not true. 2013.
2013.
Yeah, and so, then we were like selling a different product, and we were having to do different things, and we were running around like chickens with our head cut off, and it was me and Michael and Aaron, and we had some help from our wives and friends. It was like, hey, who wants to go to PAX? And we just all piled into a van and went. A lot of fun. This time we were way more together, I think. We had a good plan. We knew what we were doing. We knew exactly who we were selling to or talking to at least. So that was really helpful. PAX itself was way busier.
Yeah. It's getting bigger every year.
Yeah, way busier. I know. I went on my annual PAX swag hunt, which I do once per convention, and just like couldn't even get 20 feet out of the booth, man. It was like I just shoulder to shoulder, like I was busting through people. It was crazy. So I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't get much bigger.
Inevitably.
Yeah, because the bigger it gets, like the more the hot dogs cost. And so
directly correlated.
I just can't do it. So hopefully it kind of tapers off a little bit. I know the PAX people don't want that, but that's what I want. And I'm selfish, and they should cater to my whims.
Right. Well, not right. You're not that selfish. So for me, I think from my perspective, we did PAX South. Gosh, was it 5 weeks, 6 weeks before PAX East, and so we took I guess totally different setup, totally different mindset to PAX South, and tried a lot of things. Like we experimented with different ways to talk about what we do. We experimented with different roles for different people. We had certain people going off and going to panels. Some people focused on business development. Some people focused on talking to folks that came to the booth. And so I think we learned a lot at PAX South that we're able to kind of take to PAX East and turn up the gas on a little bit and really execute on, to use a startup term, execute on it. But the way we were able to come in and facilitate content creators in our autograph sessions, we had the internet this time. That was helpful.
Wired internet.
Yeah.
Not just leeching off some Wi-Fi stuff, man. It was like Ritz-Carlton up in there.
That's right.
Really
and
nice.
So we were able to do demos of the product. We had our messaging down really well. So I just think we did a great job of planning how it was going to work and then really going after it. And I think the results so far speak for themselves. And it was just nice to be able to get the word out about what we were doing, and in a way that we have people successfully making money on the platform. And so with that in mind, it was nice to be able to go to a conference and say, this works, this can really help you.
Right.
Let me show you how, rather than, hey, we're building this thing. And
there's a thing that might happen in the future.
So that was, I think, a huge difference for us. Was that point influenced a lot of it.
Well, it changes the whole conversation.
Right.
hey, here's the thing that might make you money, to, hey, here's the thing that's making people money. Look, there they are. There's the person. There they are making money right there. That could be you. It's a lot easier to talk about something.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that for me, PAX South, we had a smaller space. It didn't look quite as professional.
Sure.
We kind of cobbled it together from a few different things. Whereas I feel like with East, we went in and we really decided to make our presence much more professional. And I think we did a really good job. We had that massive banner.
For sure.
We had the inflatable chairs that certain content creators just parked it in for the entire time. And
I think those inflatable chairs have shown up on the GameWisp Twitter more than I've shown up on the GameWisp.
I think that's probably true. Definitely more than Aaron. Certainly more than Aaron.
They're like critical to this company now.
Yeah,
Inflatable
absolutely. We're gonna have to take those to every convention.
That's true. That's true. Ironically, Aaron bought them. So
It's true.
Fully his idea.
It's true.
And now they get more credit for them.
Absolutely. We'll probably have to get more too if we ever get a bigger booth space.
Yeah.
But
we should just fill the entire. We should be the official chair sponsor of PAX and just like fill the walls with those.
I had more people ask me if we sold them.
Yeah.
Like, where'd you buy them? Where'd you buy those? Like Amazon or something. Can I buy them from you? How much were they?
Yeah.
Right.
They're $100.
Except that we can't give them to you because we've only got 3.
Yeah, that's right.
A bunch of people asked to buy those. But I think the other thing was the ability to have content creators in the booth and around and doing signings, and then just, so many of them just kind of stuck around and hung out. That was just so different. And I think overall at PAX East, what we didn't see at PAX South and we haven't seen in previous conventions is that I think that there was a legitimacy to our presence that hasn't been true before, and I think that has everything to do with the content creators who were coming around and hanging out. But I think like instead of us kind of breaking into the industry, we're not a fixture, we're not the cool kids yet, but at least people expect us to be there.
Right.
They expect us to be hanging out. They know who we are by, they can see us and be like, oh, that's the GameWisp guys.
Yeah.
I think somebody commented that Greg, who runs our social media, that he sounds like an old man, which I thought was awesome because
When he tweets?
When he tweets.
Yeah.
So it was awesome because somebody's actually taking the time to pay attention to our Twitter, enough to know that he sounds like an old man when he tweets.
Sure.
So just that whole feeling of legitimacy, I thought.
So
was,
we've gone from like no show at the party to like a wallflower at the party.
Exactly.
So the cool kids are over there, and we're like, hey, they're over there.
Right.
That's right.
Someday.
And like every once in a while they.
Not me.
Content creator.
Somebody
That's
else.
Every once in a while they come over and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and hang out with the cool kids."
Right. It's it was a cool experience in that way. I think one of the things that I noticed was that our booth became sort of a platform for creators, and I think that's kind of our whole thing is like we want to be a platform of XYZ to help content creators do certain things and engage with their audience and all that kind of stuff. And so that was cool to see. It was almost like a real life version of our website to some degree. Like people were able to come meet their fans, people were able to like relax in our chairs and hang out. We had several content creators that were talking about business. They were sitting in our chairs talking about like what are we going to do for our channel? What are we going to do for our, our group? Like, how are we going to deal with this issue? Mm-hmm. And so that was nice to have that place on the show floor, and not just like, oh, like we have to go back to our hotel room to like do something. It's like we can do that here with the booth. So I'm really happy with PAX East. I think there's a lot. Also, I'll say one last thing about it was that just like there's a ton of content creators there that weren't at PAX South.
Yeah.
And honestly, at least I didn't see it at PAX Prime. Mm-hmm. PAX East felt like it was really focused on content creators in general. And I think like that was from the panels to the booths, all those sorts of things. And
well, sure. I mean,
did you guys notice that
YouTube had a booth there, right?
Yeah.
It was focused on their content creators recording and doing stuff there.
Mm-hmm. The dog tags.
And making the dog tags for YouTubers with their like YouTube handle on them or whatever. And you had the Twitch booth
over there.
Right.
Oh yeah. Does that make us official when we have a YouTube?
We've had it on camera.
The Twitch booth was there in all its opulence and splendor.
Right.
With all kinds of places for kind of their partners to hang out and do streams or meet people.
In the offices to do business.
The shady backroom deals.
Right.
I'm sure they were totally
the $1 million deals.
I had a conversation with one of those offices with somebody.
Was it shady? Was it a shady backroom
No, it was
deal?
so nice.
Oh.
It was very white, as you might imagine.
Oh,
Twitch
yeah.
is, right?
Right.
I would,
Sure, it was shady.
I would want one office to be like cobwebby and dark and look like a sewer. Like
Right.
this is where the shady backroom deal happens.
Right.
Right.
It's like there's no table. It's just like it's like a crate.
Yeah, one of those like spool like wire.
Yeah,
spools.
that's it. And that's where you sign the contract in blood. It's a shady backroom deal. Yeah, Polaris was right beside them and kind of doing sort of the same thing in a different way. They had some couches set up and all that, interviewing people. And so I mean, like, look, it's not going away. This is obvious. We've talked about it. It is known. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's not going away. It's just going to get bigger. The creator presence, video content creator presence is going to be even greater as we move forward. So like, I kind of wonder. This was the first booth where we had like those big banners, right? It was like, are you a YouTube content creator? Like, come talk to us. And so it was just like we would just get more and more people that were like, oh, I stream on Twitch, or oh, I'm on YouTube, or I want to start a channel, or I want to start streaming. And so we had so many conversations built around video content that I don't think you'd have seen at PAX if we had taken this idea there in 2013.
Yeah,
it would have been totally different. So it's really interesting to see how it's changed in just the past 2 years.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Was there anything else you noticed about it, Andrea?
I mean, I'm now in love with Super Fight. I will say that.
Yeah.
I love that game. But other than that, I think you're right. I think that the other thing is, so many of the panels were focused on content creators. I'm sure Markiplier was running around with a horde of people following him on a regular basis.
He sat in our chairs.
Right, and and it's been really interesting. Once again, to go back to Greg has been doing this kind of series on what live events mean to gaming content creators, and it's been interesting to hear him, because he goes to as many panels as he can at these things, and hear him talk about kind of the different ways that content creators are approaching live events with fans, right?
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do it, of course, is just to do a full-on Q&A the whole time. But there are certain groups that are really trying to experiment and see, how do I take my online presence and what I do on Twitch and YouTube on a regular basis, and how do I apply it to a convention setting? How do I apply it in a live setting?
Yeah.
And there was some really interesting ideas. The Runaway guys do kind of a game show kind of a feel to it, and it's really, really popular. I know that the Markiplier at South and East, they were giving away the like YouTube capes and doing this kind of like superhero thing at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm really intrigued to see that kind of continue. We've talked about Let's Play Live in the past that Rooster Teeth does, and kind of how does gaming content online translate to gaming content in person?
Yeah.
And what does that mean going forward? So I think it'll be interesting to see groups of content creators do more and more at conventions going forward.
Yeah, I think there's just going to be a tried and true formula to it eventually. I mean, I think creators will have their own creative aspects to it, like a game show format or whatever. But I think it's just going to become part of the logical steps, right? Start a Twitch channel or a YouTube channel, grow. Okay, time to do the live thing. Time to put a unique spin on a live thing and meet fans, and it's just going to be one big feedback loop, right? Of growth. And so, like I said before, not going anywhere.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's that transition to celebrity of the content creators themselves, where that wasn't necessarily the case. The audience our audiences weren't big enough, a couple years ago.
Our audiences didn't expect it. Like celebrity wasn't a thing you thought about on YouTube, right?
Right. And it's where these you hear it when the content creators talk about how like 2-3 years ago, everybody had like 100,000, 200,000 subscribers, and that was huge. And now like everybody's got a million, or I've heard it from the mouth of somebody who has over 1 million subscribers. When in reference to like like sea nanners or something, is like I'm tiny compared to this guy. Like a person with 1 million is tiny compared to someone with like 10 or 7 million people, and so the scale keeps growing, and you can you see that played out online, but also in those live things. And it's cool that the opportunity exists for them to add a new way to engage with their fans, add a new way to to I don't know, make money in some degree, but like It's also interesting to me how like once you get that big, you look at Markiplier, like you mentioned, like he's running around with. He's like that's part of just what he does. Like he's so great to his fans. Like he always stops. He's never like too busy for people. And so I was at South by Southwest last week, and he was hosting like the gaming awards there, and so but he was at the gaming expo, and he stopped in the hallway, and someone said, goes back to that celebrity point. But somebody was like, "Hey, wait. Are you Markiplier?" And he was like, "Yes," and like then that like drew the horde of people, like like a car alarm going off in a zombie movie. It's like somebody raised the alarm, but and then there's a line that formed, and he signed all their autographs and took all their pictures and called their friend and left a voicemail or whatever, and then moved on. And then I saw him another place, and he had another line, and so anyway, but just that whole like. I don't know, just the fans are everywhere now, and that really contributes to that celebrity aspect, I guess. And it's cool to see, and I'm excited to see what happens next with these conferences.